Hello, 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 hello. Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. And so I became a healer because I was dying inside and nobody noticed. Not my family, not my friends, not even the person staring back at me in the mirror every morning, putting on a smile that felt like duct tape holding together shattered glass. And if you've ever felt like you're screaming in a soundproof room, this is for you. So I want to welcome you to the first episode of what I call Adeola Speaks. I'm an inner harmony expert and soul awakener, and I help God's children craft and build the blueprint of their best life. Then I teach them how to live it boldly and unapologetically. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more settling with me. I'm a transformational coach, clinical hypnotherapist, author, summer breathwork facilitator, emotional code healer. I heal what's hidden, build what's broken, and unlock the version of you that was always meant to exist using my fast, fearless, focused frameworks built to not just last for a season, but for a lifetime. And so my promise always is we will meet, you will speak, we will ignite, and you will shine. And you will never have to settle for less again, at least not on my watch. And here's the deal, for the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about wounds. Not the oh poor me kind of wound, but the kind that when you finally understand it, it becomes your superpower. The kind that turns you from victim to victor, from wounded to warrior, and from seeming brokenness to being completely whole again. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your childhood was a movie you didn't audition for, but somehow you got the lead role in? I know, because I was you. So buckle up. We're going to go on a journey from my deepest wound to my greatest gift, and somewhere in my story, you might find yours. I'm going to take you back to a little girl who learned way too early that love was conditional, attention was earned, and safety was optional. So I grew up in a house where silence was louder than screaming. You know, that kind of quiet. The one that makes your stomach hurt because you don't know what's coming next. And my mom, bless her heart, she did her best. But she also had her wounds. My dad, he was there, but like he wasn't there. He was emotionally checked out, like a ghost who just paid the bills. And little me, I became the rebellious one. Now, as children, there are certain roles that we play and we perform because we want attention whether we like it or not, because we're all created for attention, right? And for love and for connection, as the case is. And so there are four predominant roles we play to seek this attention. One is the brilliant child, you have the sickly child, you have the carer child, and you have the rebellious child. And all these roles we key, and maybe you can even start to think, okay, I was the star child, yes, and because I was so good in school, every time I'll come home, I'll get a pat on the back, nod on my head, or I get biscuits, I get, candy for being good. And so you registered that all I just need to do is keep getting good grades, and I'll keep getting the I love yous that I need. For the sickly one, once I'm sick, everybody that didn't have time for me now has time for me. And so I stay sick so that people, focus on me. For the carer child, you look after everybody, but there's nobody to look after you. And for the rebellious child, you want to take the power off the adult. Now, when you get into trouble consistently, people have no choice but to look at you. And for being born in Nigeria, like I was born in Nigeria, it was cane and, it was all the disciplining, they called it, which I don't call it discipline. I think it was punishment, but I was the rebellious child, right? And that's how I got attention. So I would steal, I would lie, I would get out of school, they would drop me in school, I'll run away, they will catch. I was doing all kinds of things for this attention and this affection and this I'll call it connection, because that's what it seemed like, right? And because we're all created for connection, hey, it is what it is. And so even as adults, we carry on playing some of those roles, and our roles change, by the way. So one is no longer serving you. So rebellious says, stop serving me. And I became a carer, because that's what now got me the attention and the affection that I needed. And so, I used to be that child that they will move from house to house because the next uncle says he can beat better than the last uncle. The last uncle says he can beat better than the last auntie. The last auntie says she can beat better than my mother. And so I was that kind of child. And in Nigeria, everything also is spiritual. So if you are a nuisance, in quote, then you also have to be spiritually affected. There has to be some kind of spirit in you that they need to cast out, because it's the demonic spirit. And so they call them witches, they call them all kinds of things, water spirits. And I had all those names, by the way. And I can laugh over them today, because hey, it is what it is. I was labeled by people who were hurt, and they didn't know any better. So I forgive them. And they also were in pain. They just didn't know that they were, right? And so all of these things started to happen. And of course, I became a carer eventually. And then I married the man that I married. And I think that I married him because I felt like I needed to save him too. He had 2 children, and he kept on thinking, no young girl will marry him. I'm like, what? Adeola is here, the savior of the world, And I didn't know this in all this time. I only started to understand my patterns after. And so when things really went so down for me, in the sense that I got to a point where I couldn't go any further. At this time, I was married with my own child and my bonus kids. And it was just topsy-turvy for me, and everything came to a halt. And I couldn't go forward, I couldn't go backwards. I was in a hole that I dug for myself, and I was stuck there. And eventually I sought therapy, and it helped me. But it didn't help me enough. I kept on thinking there's more. And so I then found somebody who did some hypnotherapy work on me, and boom, my life changed. And because of that, I thought, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist as well, so I can help other people. And that's how I got to where I am right now. And I share this story because we all have stories that we've told ourselves that seem true. But now I know that they were not as true as we thought they were. But whilst we're thinking it felt like it was true, and also how your stories can create your worlds. Your words create your worlds. And I also know you don't need to have the worst story in the room for your pain to be valid. Sometimes the wound is what didn't happen. Sometimes it's the hug you didn't get, or the pat on the back you didn't get, or the I'm proud of you that never came, the safety you never felt. It's all kinds of things. So here's what happened. The little girl grew up, smiled at all the right times, went to church, said the right things, and inside she was starving for something she couldn't name. And I found myself in relationships where I gave everything and got crumbs in return. Jobs where I worked myself to the bone trying to prove I was worthy. Friendships where I was a therapist but never the patient. And then one day I just thought, no, I'm done. I'm done. You can't heal what you won't feel. You can't transform what you won't name. I literally started to function in such ways that, I'm like, what am I going to do here? And thankfully, therapy and coaching and counseling came to my rescue, and it taught me so much. And Psalm 147 also taught me, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. So here's the thing. God can't heal what you keep pretending isn't broken. I had to name it and tame it. I had to name it before I could tame it, before I could deal with it, before I could heal it. I had to name it, and 50% of the problem is solved just by naming it. So right now, I want you to close your eyes for 10 seconds and ask yourself this question. What wound am I running from right now? And what pain have I labeled as over it, but I never actually processed it? I want you to sit with that and ask yourself that question. What wound am I running from right now? And what pain have I labeled, I'm done, but you never processed it? And open your eyes and drop it in the chat or write it in your book. One word that describes what came up, and you don't need to explain anything, just one word. For some people, rejection, abandonment, shame, betrayal. I see you. I feel you. I was once there. But here's where it gets good. Here's where the wounds start building the healer, right? Where it started to build me. I made a decision that day that I mentioned in my darkest time. I decided that I was going to feel this pain. It was going to mean something. So the pain was also not in vain. If I was going to cry those tears, they were going to water something new. They were going to birth and build something new. This was also after my baby girl had noticed how broken I was. And so I said to myself, I'm going to give her the permission to live again, because I now will give myself the permission to live. And also because I'm in a blended family, I was failing. I felt like I'd failed miserably, right? There was so much going on in my life. But I used all the things going on, and I said, how can I turn all of this mess into my message? And this is not motivational fluff in any way. This is just me saying, it had to work for my good. As the Bible says, all things work together for good. So it had to work together for good. God had to have a plan, since he's the author and the finisher of my faith. He's the storyteller of my life, isn't it? So it had to work in such a way where, because I know that God's thoughts for me are that of good, he had written a story for my life that was going to have all these nice plots and twists and, ups and downs that made my life interesting, to the point where I got to and I said, okay, now I'm going to use all this part to build this compelling future for me. But the real training that happened in the darkest nights, for me, they happened in the darkest nights. I'm not even going to lie. Where I had to face every lie I believed about myself. I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable, I'm damaged goods, I'm a failure, I'm a terrible mother, I'm a terrible stepmother, I'm a terrible wife, I'm beyond repair. I had to now start changing them, using my relationship with God in its newness, because the relationship I had with God before was completely different. And I felt like I served a God that was just all about fear and waiting for me to drop the second shoe so that he can punish me. And so when I did away with all that, all the past I knew about who God was, I realized, this is all through ugly tears, by the way, I realized that God was a God of love and only love. And there was nothing I could do that could separate me from his love. And that did it for me. So I started to change those lies and replace them with new truths. Well, if you want to call it new lies, okay, but better lies this time around, because I believe that you can lie so much that it becomes your truth, right? So I started to change it to, I'm perfectly made, I'm deeply loved, I'm being refined, I'm a masterpiece at the same time, I'm a walking testimony. All these things started to build and grow root in me so much. So I learned that my wound is not my weakness, it's my assignment. That the things that most destroyed me in whatever way was the same thing that I was anointed to use to heal others. And if something is shifting for you right now, drop it in chat or write it in your book, but drop it in chat for me so that I know that we're together. So just write shift, yeah? Now, I know that we've cried together now, so you're thinking, oh, you two, you're also in your feelings. You're thinking, okay, I also went through a tough time. But you're also hearing that you can turn that tough time into the message that you use, so that tough time was not useless. Let's even say, right? How can I turn this tough time into something that becomes useful for me? Because why do wounds work this way? Why does childhood trauma follow us into adulthood? And what does the Bible actually say about healing? Those are questions that I want you to start asking yourself, okay? As we're thinking, why did all of these happen to me? Why did these wounds happen? Why are they working for me? Not against me. Because we're used to saying they're working against me, but no. What if they're working for you? And honestly, I'm not just a therapist who throws Bible verses on top of psychology like sprinkles on ice cream. No, I believe the Bible is the original psychology textbook. God literally wrote the manual on the human soul. I believe it because I've gone through a process of knowing God for who I am and using his word and using the Bible as a resource, just like I use other books as a resource. We quote all this Carl Jung and the rest of them. I quote the Bible because the Bible is my source of information. My source and resource is both for me, right? So now, first, the facts. And I promise I'm going to make this simple because I don't do fluff or jargon. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a physical threat and an emotional one. This is the science of wounds, by the way, right? It's the science of wounds. Your brain doesn't know. So when things happen, when you're 7-year-old, and when you were 7-year-old and your dad didn't show up for your recital, your brain registered that the same way to register a lion chasing you. Threat, danger, unsafe, period. Because we're still in that era. We don't know that we've really morphed. Your brain is still in that survival mode, right? So when things happen, your brain's number one job is to keep you alive, not happy. So it creates these things called neural pathways. Think of them like grooves on a record that say, remember this pain, don't let it happen again. So you know when it's scratching on a record, remember this pain, don't let it happen again. That's what starts to happen. So it starts to create lines in the same place. That's what happens in your brain as well. So you develop coping mechanism. Yes, you automatically, you develop coping mechanisms. So you have people pleasing. If I'm perfect, they'll stay. Overachieving, if I'm successful, then I'm worthy. Emotional shutdown, if I don't feel, then I can't get hurt. There's some of you right here who said that to yourself, right? I know. Control, if I manage everything, then nothing will go bad. But the question is, are any of these things true? And if it sounds familiar, drop your coping mechanism in the chat and let's normalize it. I promise you. So we've got some professional pleasers, I can see. Yes, I see you, some overachievers. My control freaks, what's up? What's up? What's up? Yes, because you exist. I used to be a control freak too. I used to want to control everything. Don't surprise me. I used to say, I don't like surprises because I wanted to be in control. But here's the beautiful, terrible truth. Those mechanisms worked until they stopped working. Your brain doesn't know that you are safe now, that you are no longer 7. The people pleasing that kept you safe as a child is destroying your relationships as an adult. The emotional shutdown that protected you from pain is blocking you from love. The control that made you feel secure is giving you anxiety attacks. And from the book, The Body Keeps the Scores, childhood trauma literally rewires your brain. But this is great news. Neuroplasticity means your brain can be rewired again. With hypnotherapy, nothing is impossible in your brain. I promise you, take it from me. I'm a living testament to it. The brain learned that fear can learn, the same brain that learned fear can learn safety. And the heart that learned mistrust can learn trust and faith. The soul that learned shame can learn worthiness. And God is in the business of rewriting our stories today. I promise you. I used to have recordings where I would listen to and hypnotize myself and listen to them for 3 weeks back to back and just rewiring my subconscious mind until I started to see it tangibly, right? And you too can. Now let's talk about also what the word of God says, or what God says. And I'll call him God because that's who he is to me. Because some of us grew up in churches that just told us, pray harder, have more faith when you're struggling. And that's not completely true, right? I'm going to say that. It's not completely true. Jesus didn't tell people to ignore their pain. He told them to bring it to him. In Matthew 11:28, it says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So Jesus knew that it's possible for you to be heavy laden and burdened. He didn't say stop being weary. He says bring your weariness here. I will replace it with rest. John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. So it's acknowledged that there will be trouble. And you're not gaslit into pretending it doesn't exist by God. God knew. He knows. Because he created everything, right? Psalm 34:18 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God doesn't distance himself from your brokenness. He actually draws closer. So here's what I've learned. God gave us emotions for a reason. Sadness, anger, fear. They're not sins. They're signals. When you're sad, your soul is saying something I valued is lost. When you're angry, it's your soul saying a boundary was violated. When you're afraid, it's your soul saying I need safety. As easy as that. And Jesus modeled every single one of these emotions. He wept at Lazarus' tomb. He was going to wake him up, but he still wept. Sadness. He flipped tables in the temple. Anger. He sweated blood at Gethsemane. He said, let this cup pass over me. Fear. So if Jesus didn't bypass his emotions, why do you think you have to? And I just want that to settle in for you. And yes, this is why we're here today. It's for the good stuff. So that we can turn all our wounds to this beautiful wisdom, right? And give that wisdom to the world. And here's where it gets wild. The Bible also talks about generational curses, right? If you remember, visiting the iniquity of fathers upon children and children's children to third, fourth generation. Exactly. Some people have thought it's spiritual curses. I think it's more than that, right? And I also don't think God was being petty by saying it. But let's turn it around and say, what if it was biology it was talking about? What if it was epigenetics? Because science now proves that trauma can be passed down through DNA. Studies on Holocaust survivors' their grandchildren show that they carried markers of trauma they never directly experienced, right? So what if we can break the generational cycle by breaking our beliefs and our thought process? What if? And healing the trauma and coming out of it. Now, of course, you didn't choose the wound, but you can choose the healing. And you can be the one who says it ends here, right? This dysfunction in my family, the fact that infertility runs in my family ends here. The fact that anger, divorce, it ends here. The trauma, the pain, it ends and stops with me. And when you say that, you don't just heal yourself, you heal your lineage backward and forward. And let me tell you the truth, that's exactly what happened with me. When I started to heal, I not only gave my daughter the permission to live and breathe and be excited, I also gave my mother the permission to do the same. And the way my mother transformed was phenomenal. I used to say to her that I'm a proud daughter to you, but I also feel like a proud mother to you as well, right? Because I've seen what has changed in her life. Now, here's a question. What generational pattern are you going to break today? What ends with you today having listened to me? Just tell me. Abuse, addiction, divorce, poverty, infertility, emotional unavailability. What ends today? Yes, and you're not just healing, you are rewriting history. Let them all come through. Okay. I'm so grateful to all those who put things in the chat. So grateful. So now that we have named the wound, we've understood the why, let's talk about the way. Because if I don't show you the way, you will stay stuck in the same place. And a lot of times I find that people are talking at you. They don't tell you how to do things. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to tell you how to do stuff. Okay? And so knowledge without application for me is useless, right? It's trivia at the best. But we're here for transformation. So I'm going to give you a framework I use with my clients. And this is the same process that has healed marriages, restored families, opened wombs, and awakened souls. Are you ready? Yes. Get out your notes and write this. First, this is the 5-step healing phase. Acknowledge. You've got to acknowledge it. You've got to be aware of it. You can't heal what you won't reveal. So step one is getting brutally honest about what actually happened to you. Not the sanitized version or the broke down version or they did their best. No, 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 no. I used to say that, oh, my parents did their best, until I realized that no, they were irresponsible. They were irresponsible parents. If they were responsible, they would have done things differently, because information was there. They didn't go out for it. So first, I accepted that they were irresponsible before I was able to now say, however, I forgive them, right? I gave it was the real situation at the time. They lacked presence. Those were the things I had to say the truth. And it doesn't mean that you're being ungrateful or disrespectful. It means you're being accurate. So the exercise is the wound inventory. Take out a piece of paper and draw a line down in the middle. On the left side, what I experienced. On the right side, what I needed instead. So the wound inventory. Left side, topic, what I experienced. Right side, what I needed instead. So, for example, criticism, I experienced criticism when I made mistakes. What I needed was encouragement and grace. Ooh, that did something in me right now. And it's not about blame, it's about clarity. Yes, you've got to name it. And you can do this with a safe person or therapist, not alone when you're not by yourself at 2 a.m. when you're spiraling, right? Ask me how I know, because I know. I used to do all those kind of things to make myself cry more. But no, this is what I experienced, but this is what I needed. And maybe you can even share it with who you have written it for later, but make sure that they're safe enough for you to share it with them. But you can then, after you've done it, send it to me and share it to me. And maybe I can give you like a 5-10 minutes conversation and just validate all your emotions and empathize with you, neutralize it, and then transform it for you. I'd love to do the work with you if you're happy. Otherwise, find a safe person and read it out to them to read. Read it out to them to listen, or give it to them to read, and let them just tell you the things that you would have deserved, right? Because you have to mourn what you didn't get. The childhood you deserve, the parent who should have protected you, the innocence that was stolen away from you. Grief is not weakness. Grief is love with nowhere to go. So there's a time for everything. There's a time to mourn. Not just get over it and move on. No. Give yourself permission to be sad about what was. The little kid inside you deserves to be mourned. And then, when you're done writing it, write a letter to your younger self. Because you've got to grieve it. I don't want us to just go over it and say, oh no, you're strong. You're not. When you're done, this is how to grieve in a constructive way. Write a letter to your younger self and cry whilst you're writing it on purpose. Feel all the pain, if it's rage, pick a pillow, scream into the pillow, right? Do whatever you need to do to get it all out of your system, because your body is keeping all the scores. And if it doesn't make its way through tears, it will make other body parts weep. And you don't want to have lung cancer or a kidney failure or something just because you refuse to grieve your pain. So cry if you have to. Rage if you have to. Shout in a pillow, not on people, in a pillow. Talk to God about it, because God can handle your anger. You cannot forgive someone without allowing these things to come out of your system. And I say that because, we keep saying just forgive the person, is for your freedom. But when you release it from your system, it's easy for you to then sit down in a place and tell yourself, I let that person go, right? And you can also forgive someone and still grieve what they did. That's the truth. So yes, once you grieve it, you release it, the person doesn't have to come and tell you sorry, actually. They don't have to tell you sorry. You can grieve it and say, my mom hurt me. I'm still friendly with my mom, but she hurt me. I forgive her, but she hurt me. They both can coexist. Because forgiveness doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means I'm not carrying this anymore. So you've got to release it, because Forgiveness is for your own freedom, to be honest. It is. So, but grieve it. Acknowledge the pain. Then release it and say, I forgive you and release you now and let you go. Okay? And drop a crying emoji if you needed to hear that. Now, remember those neural pathways we talked about? The grooves in the record, that scratch? Time to create new grooves. Okay? So, the first thing we said was what? Awareness. Acknowledgement. You've got to acknowledge. The second thing is grieving. You cannot skip that part. Second phase is grieving it. Grief, once again, is not weakness. So second phase, grieve it. And I've taught you how to grieve it constructively. Third thing is to rewire it. Rewire those neural pathways, the new ones, right? This is where we replace the truth, the lies with the truth. I am not worthy of love. Your new truth is I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I always mess things up. Your new truth, I am being transformed by the renewing of my mind. And you can use affirmations spoken out loudly in front of a mirror, looking into your eyes. What I love about you is, what I'm happy about you is, what I'm proud of you for is, what I forgive you for is, what I commit to you to do is in front of your mirror. Hypnotherapy, I mentioned that. It is phenomenal. It would rewire your brain without even you having to think about it. Somatic work, which is breath work, releasing all these different things. Human garage, resetting your organs so that it can release all these things. Emotional code, identifying and releasing trapped emotions, stored emotions in your body and stored trauma in your body. These are 4 practical tools. Neurogenic tremors, also another brilliant tool that you can use. Fun fact, it takes 21 days to start forming a new habit and 90 days to make it stick. So if you have been affirming truth for a week and it doesn't feel different, that's normal. Your brain is just building it. You've got to give it time. You can't say, I've tried it all in one day. It's like going to the gym one day and say you will develop 6-pack. Impossible. Okay? And the Bible also says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right. Think about such things. Yes? So your thoughts create your feelings create your emotions create your actions, and your actions create your results in life. So when you change your thoughts, you change your life. Okay? So now I want you to put your hand on your heart and say this after me. I'm beautiful. I'm phenomenally beautiful. I have phenomenal coping skills. I'm capable. I'm loving and lovable. I'm enough just the way I am. I can do all things through Christ. And if you don't believe in Christ, I can do all things through the divine. Okay? Yes, yes. And taking a deep breath for me in and out. Very good. Now this is where we go a little bit deeper. Phase 4 is you've got to integrate things back, right? And integration means setting boundaries with people who trigger you. You've got to integrate this new belief system. You've got to integrate it into your daily life, my sisters and brothers. You've got to choose relationships that honor your worth, because now you know you are worthy. You've got to parent differently than you were parented. Speak up instead of shutting down, and rest instead of performing consistently. It's practicing the new patterns until they become natural. And here's the deal, you will mess up. Should I say that again? You will mess up, and that's okay. Healing isn't linear. Some days you're going to respond from your wound instead of your wisdom, and that's human, right? So give yourself the grace you give other people. In fact, give yourself more grace, because when you give yourself more grace, you can give that back to other people, because what's in you is what's going to come out. Our goal here is progression, not perfection. And phase 5, pour out, contribute. Your story is not your ministry, right? This is where you become the healer, from the healed to the healer. The thing that broke you is the thing that you're anointed to heal in. So yes, the rape was, rejection was tough, the abandonment was tough, the divorce was tough, the death was tough. But what in it can you use to help one person who's also been through rape, abandonment, divorce, all those things that can soothe their own life based on the fact that you are now soothed? And please don't rush this phase of giving. It took me years to start thinking, okay, I can support other people. I had to first be supported, because you cannot pour from an empty cup, and you can't heal others whilst you are still bleeding, right? So give yourself a lot first. Receive a lot of love. Receive, then give, okay? Don't share a story that you haven't come out of yet. Don't do it, right? And these are some signs that you can use to check whether you're ready to start to give. Or somebody in your house. You don't have to be a global speaker, but you can speak to people in your house. Speak life to the people in your house, right? When you're ready, see how God will help you turn it around. If you decide, like me, to then become a messenger of the good news, then why not? Your test then becomes your testimony. Your mess now becomes your message, and your wound becomes your wisdom. And that's how you become a life giver like me. So if you're ready to step into your calling, please be my guest. Or a calling that you create for yourself. If you're ready to make this a mission, like I did. I made it a mission for me. Nobody asked me. I just thought, oh, I got so much help. I see how great I'm doing. Instead of keeping it to myself, why not dish it out to the world? And here I am today. So, AGRIP is our acronym for the 5-phase step. Acknowledge, name it. Grieve, feel it. Rewire, heal it. Integrate, live it. Pour out, share it. Simple? Yes. Easy? No. Worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely. And listen, you don't have to do this alone, okay? That's why I'm here. Send me a message, send me a DM, just send me something on Instagram, on YouTube. Send me a message. I'll read it and I'll respond to you. And of course, send me a DM. I'll privately message you. That just might do the trick, okay? You're not just here to watch videos. We're building a movement of healed healers. Because I personally believe that God is God based on the amount of gods he creates, not servants. So if I create other healers, then those healers can create other healers. And those healers can create other healers. And then we have a world of 10 billion people who are living a life of meaning and purpose. What about that? What about that today, sisters? So I'm going to give you a challenge that you're going to have to do, because we're transforming here, right? I'm not reforming anybody. Reformation is that things are happening, change is happening that you're not a part of. That's why people go to jail and come out and they go back to jail. We're doing transformation, and this is where you're a partaker in the actions that are happening. And the challenge for the week is this: the letter you will never send. You're going to write a letter to the person who wounded you the most. And it could be 10 different people that wounded you. You're going to write a letter to all of them and pour it all out. Every feeling, every hurt, every resentment, every question, all the things that come with it. And then don't send it. Because this is not about them. This is you releasing what you have been carrying. Okay? Now, when you're done writing it, you're going to do one of these 4 things. Either burn it and just watch it burn and say, as you're burning, I release you. And watch the smoke carry it all away and release it from your system. Bury it in your background. Just dig a hole and say, I'm burying you. It's no longer a part of me anymore. Shred it into tiny pieces and throw it away in the dustbin, or keep it in a sealed envelope and label it released. Done. Out of my system. Yes? And then you're going to write a second letter. This one is to your younger self. And you're going to tell them these 4 things. What you wish someone had told them. I'm so happy you're a girl. I really wanted to hear that, because I didn't feel loved as a child. Right? The second thing you're going to write is what you now know that they didn't. So your adult self, What do you know from all the things that happened that they didn't, that you now know? So I know that I had to go through all those things for me to emerge the woman that I am today. And I see all the blessings, and we made it, right? We made it. We survived. And I'm safe, soothed, secure, and seen. Write also how proud you are of them, right? How proud you are of them. I'm so proud of you. And write all the things that you have done. And then the fourth thing, how far they've come. Let him or her know that they were strong. They got you to where you are right now. And this letter you're going to keep. And every time you find yourself struggle about your identity or where you are or who you are, you're going to read it and remind yourself that I've come this far and I can only go higher, right? Now, I got some questions that was sent to me, and I'm going to answer them quickly. We've got 4 questions. What if I don't remember my childhood clearly? Well, sit down and you will remember some things. Like, for example, I didn't remember what happened to me in my secondary school years because it was a very traumatic period for me. And so I deleted that memory, and it was a coping mechanism for me to survive. But I still remember some things. I could still dip into it. And with hypnotherapy, you don't need to struggle to remember. Your mind will take you straight there. So rest assured, it's there. All your memory is there. All the memory you have had from when you're in your mother's womb till today is in your limbic brain. All is in there. So with hypnotherapy and deep somatic work, you can tap into it. Second question was, how do I forgive someone who never apologized? By seeing them sit in front of you in your mind's eye with your eyes closed, and you imagine them walking up to you, sitting in front of you and apologizing and telling you how sorry they were. Remember, your mind doesn't know the difference. I've done this tons of times. I will quarrel with my husband. He will go, I will shut my eye and I'll see him in front of me. Because I know that he doesn't need to be standing in front of me to say sorry. He will say sorry, I'm okay. And I'm good with it, right? So start to train yourself to decide to do that for yourself. Because like I said, you need it, okay? Now, can you heal from trauma without therapy? That's a very good question. Because the ingredients that got you into something cannot take you out, the truth is that you might not be able to heal trauma without therapy. But I always say that talk therapies can get you thus far. You need deeper work, to be honest. And that's why I will always vote for hypnotherapy. Not with me, but find somebody who does hypnotherapy so that they can go into your subconscious mind and remove it from there and replace it with new stories. And in no time, you'll be speaking a different language. Next question, what if my family doesn't support my healing journey? My family didn't support mine. But my healing was not for them, my healing was for me. Period. And that was all that I needed. Me, not them. Okay? Now before we close today, I need you to hear this. Your healing is not selfish, it is sacred. And every time you choose to face your wound instead of running away from it, you're breaking chains not for you, but for everyone connected to you, your kids, your partner, your future, your past, your community. And you are not broken at all. You're not even too far gone that you think you are. You're not beyond repair. You're exactly where you need to be right now, watching this, feeling this, listening to this. And I'm so extremely proud of you. I really am. So remember what I said at the beginning? I became a healer because I was dying inside and nobody noticed. Here's the end of that beautiful story. I finally noticed me and I chose life. I chose to let my wound build me instead of bury me. And now I help you do the same. And that's why I'm going to be here every week. One, to unload, right? Then to also get better at my speaking, right? So is to train myself to keep showing up passionately and doing work with people. You know, this is like my community service. This is what I call it. My community give back and my community service. And so I'm so passionate about healing because healing is what got me here. I did the work, and so I know that you can do it too if you choose to. And because I know what it feels like to be hopeless, I also know what it feels like to find hope again. I have to come out and speak. I'm preaching the good news. And trust me, if I can do it, a mess of a human who once thought I was unredeemable, you too can. So we're going to close with an affirmation, okay? And I want you to say this out with me. I don't care if people are around, just say it. I am not my wound. I am not my past. I am not my mistakes. I am loved. I am chosen, and I am healed. My pain has purpose, my story has power, and my life has meaning. I give life, and I am just getting started. And please add your own words there. Yes, yes. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about something wild, why blended families are actually supernatural. And maybe you're going to hear something about God's design for blended families and what they actually look like. And it's going to be super good. So set your reminder and your timer. Click the link below. Subscribe so that you get all my videos and everything. There's going to be so many gifts. I'm going to put one in the chat box. So please download it, use it, subscribe. Just write your key takeaways, right? And join our community. I love you. I see you. I'm rooting for you. And I want you to please go and do the work. I'll see you next week. Yes, yes. Hugs and kisses. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm so excited to be going on this journey with you and your life's partner. Have a wonderful day all. Bye.